Ronda Rousey is the new Strikeforce Women's Bantamweight Champion!
Ronda Rousey has a problem, and nearly a decade after her last UFC fight, she still doesn't understand what it is.
Well, what makes me so confident that I can win is I'm the greatest fighter in the world.
She thinks MMA fans turned on her because she lost. The moment you're not on top, the fans forget everything you did. But here's the thing. That's not why people stopped rooting for Ronda Rousey.
What am I anymore if I'm not this? And I was literally sitting there and like thinking about killing myself, and that exact second I'm like, I'm nothing. I'm like, what do I do anymore?
Chuck Liddell got knocked out cold multiple times. Georges St-Pierre tapped to strikes. Anderson Silva had his legs snapped in half. Yet these legends are beloved by the MMA community to this day. So what makes Ronda different? Why does she sit on podcasts in 2025, bitter and resentful, claiming MMA fans are fake and that nobody appreciates her? Because Ronda Rousey wasn't just a sore loser. She was a sore winner first. And when everything came crashing down, her saltiness reached levels the sport had never seen before. This is the story of how Cockiness built a superstar, and how saltiness destroyed her legacy. Welcome back to the Band-Aid Battalion MMA. We tell the fight stories that matter. If you want to see who falls next, smash that subscribe button and join the battalion right now. Let's be clear, Ronda Rousey earned her cockiness. In the early 2000s, she wasn't just ahead of the competition, she was in a different dimension entirely. Olympic bronze medalist in judo, armbar specialist, finishing fights in seconds, not minutes. She forced Dana White to create women's divisions in the UFC. She became the highest paid fighter on the entire roster at one point. She transcended the sport, appearing on magazine covers, talk shows, and Hollywood movies. Ronda was unstoppable, and she knew it. She genuinely believed she could beat Floyd Mayweather in a fight.
I would do that. I would just bear crawl over there, just too low for him to hit me, and I'd tackle him down.
Claiming that once she got the greatest boxer of that generation to the ground, it would be over. And shockingly, people actually debated this. Joe Rogan suggested she could defeat half the male bantamweights in the UFC.
I was like, she could probably beat half the men bantamweights in the UFC.
Is that true?
Her coach Edmund went even further, insisting she could outbox world champion boxers. It was absurd. But Ronda's dominance made people believe the impossible. And that confidence, that unshakable belief in her superiority, it's what made her a star. Fans loved the attitude. They loved the intensity. They loved watching her walk into the octagon like she already knew she'd won. But here's the problem with building your entire persona on being unbeatable. Eventually, everyone loses. Before Ronda ever tasted defeat, cracks in her character were already showing. Because being confident is one thing, being arrogant and disrespectful is another. Ronda became known as a sore winner. After dominating opponents, she'd mock them, belittle them, refuse to shake hands. The most famous example? After beating Miesha Tate, her biggest rival, Miesha extended her hand in defeat. Ronda refused it. Even in victory, she couldn't show basic sportsmanship.
Wow, she went to shake Ronda's hand and Ronda walked away from her.
Then there was the incident with Paige Van Zandt. Miesha Tate later revealed that Ronda confronted Paige backstage and went off on her. Why? Because Paige congratulated Holm for beating Ronda. That's it.
Just like cussed her out. Like, they've never really had a conversation either. She's like, I don't know Ronda, like, you know, other than hi bye.
Ronda called her fair weather and unleashed a tirade on a fighter who had simply shown respect to another competitor. This wasn't trash talk to build a fight. This was genuine nastiness. Ronda expected absolute loyalty, and if you didn't worship her, you were the enemy. Fans started noticing. The cocky champion they once loved was becoming insufferable. And when you act like that on top, people start rooting for your downfall.
Ronda Rousey was never as good as everyone thought she was. She was just first.
Then came November 15th, 2015. UFC 193. Ronda Rousey versus Holm. Holly dominated Ronda on the feet. Ronda couldn't get the fight to the ground. And then, in the second round, a head kick heard around the world. Ronda was knocked out cold in front of 56,000 people, the largest live UFC audience in history.
Is in trouble. She's hurt. Holly looking to finish. She's out. Holly Holm.
For someone whose entire identity was built on being unbeatable, this loss shattered Ronda. She later admitted she thought about suicide in the medical room afterward. And look, losing like that is devastating. Fans understand that. What they don't understand is what happened next. Ronda disappeared. No post-fight interview. No press conference. Complete radio silence. When she finally surfaced, she was getting off a plane, covering her face from cameras. UFC fans weren't looking to attack her. They wanted to support her. They'd seen their heroes lose before. Conor McGregor lost to Nate Diaz just months later. And you know what he did? Stood in front of the media, took responsibility, made no excuses, and came back stronger. Fans loved him more after that loss. But when Ronda finally spoke, the excuses flooded out. Bad weight cut, wrong mouthpiece. She gave herself a concussion in training by slipping. Maybe some of these were true, but it came across as salty, like she couldn't accept that Holly Holm was simply the better fighter that night. The narrative wasn't, Ronda was never good. It was, Holly Holm is a Hall of Fame boxer and we should have given her more credit. But Ronda couldn't see that. After a year away, Ronda returned to fight Amanda Nunes for the bantamweight title. But the comeback was strange.
When you see them face to face like that, Amanda is actually the bigger girl.
Ronda demanded special treatment. No interviews, no press conferences, no open workouts, nothing. Not even Brock Lesnar got accommodations like this. She showed up to weigh-ins through the back door, refused to look at anyone, and immediately left. She seemed disgusted with the entire sport, with the fans, with the media. Meanwhile, Amanda Nunes, the actual champion, was treated like an afterthought. Oddsmakers had Ronda as the favorite despite being the challenger. Where was the respect for the champ? The question everyone had, what had Ronda done to fix her striking deficiencies? She still had the same coach who claimed she could box with Floyd. Had anything actually changed? We never got answers. And then the fight happened. 48 seconds. That's how long it took Amanda Nunes to destroy Ronda Rousey. It wasn't competitive, it was a beating.
Big combination. Boom! Just.
The sport had evolved past her, and she refused to acknowledge it. And just like after the Holly Holm loss, Ronda vanished. No interview, no statement. She just left. That was the last time we saw Ronda Rousey in the octagon. Most fighters who retire disappear from the spotlight or move on gracefully. Not Ronda. She went to WWE, had some success, then retired to her 4,000-acre farm in Oregon with her husband, Travis Brown. And you'd think that would be it. She's rich, successful, living her life away from the chaos. But every now and then, Ronda pops up on a podcast. And every single time, she has the same complaints. On the Bird Crusher podcast recently, Ronda went on a rant that stunned the MMA community. She claimed MMA fans are the most "what have you done for me lately" crowd in all of sports, that the second you're not on top, you're nothing, and you never were anything. Then she started naming names. Chuck Liddell, Rampage Jackson, GSP. According to Ronda, fans turned on all of them the moment they lost. Except, that's not true at all. GSP is considered one of the greatest of all time. Chuck Liddell is beloved legend. These fighters are held in incredibly high regard, but Ronda doesn't see that. In her mind, she's the victim of fickle fans who abandoned her. Then she turned her attention to Khabib Nurmagomedov. According to Ronda, the only reason MMA fans worship Khabib is because he retired undefeated before anyone could expose his limitations. She suggested that if he had continued fighting until he eventually lost, the entire fan base would immediately dismiss his legacy and claim he was never actually good in the first place. The disrespect was staggering. Here she was, attacking one of the most dominant and respected champions in UFC history, diminishing his undefeated record and suggesting fans only admire him because he quit before losing. The disrespect is unreal. But she didn't stop there. Ronda then went after the MMA media, complaining about journalists who were friendly, but later questioned her abilities after losses. She stopped talking to them entirely, feeling betrayed by people she thought were friends, but proved they weren't when she needed support most. But here's the thing. That's literally their job. Media members are supposed to analyze fights objectively. They're not your personal PR team. When a dominant champion loses twice in brutal fashion, of course they're going to discuss what went wrong. And then, perhaps most controversially, Ronda dismissed Joe Rogan. When someone mentioned Joe could train and potentially beat her, clearly joking, Ronda scoffed. He wouldn't know. He's not an expert. He's a fan with an audience.
He wouldn't know. He's not an expert. He's a fan with an audience.
Attacking Joe Rogan, the voice of the UFC, one of MMA's biggest ambassadors, was a bridge too far for many fans. It showed just how bitter and disconnected Ronda had become. Here's what Ronda Rousey still doesn't understand. Fans didn't turn on her because she lost. They turned on her because of how she acted when she won. The arrogance, the disrespect, the refusal to show basic sportsmanship. And they turned on her even more because of how she handled defeat, the excuses, the disappearing act, the refusal to engage with fans or media, the special treatment demands. Conor McGregor lost, and people loved him more. Daniel Cormier lost to John Jones twice and is one of the most respected figures in the sport. Max Holloway has lost multiple times and fans adore him. You know why? Because they showed humility. They faced the media. They gave credit to their opponents. They moved forward with grace. Ronda did the opposite. And now, years later, she sits on podcasts attacking the very fans who made her the biggest star in women's MMA history. She compares MMA's treatment of legends to WWE's reverence for their icons. But here's the reality. MMA fans do respect their legends. They just don't respect poor sportsmanship and endless excuses. Ronda Rousey was a pioneer, a game changer, one of the most important fighters in UFC history. She deserves credit for that, but she also needs to look in the mirror and understand that her relationship with fans crumbled because of her own actions, not because the sport is full of fake supporters. Cockiness built Ronda Rousey into a superstar, but saltiness destroyed her legacy. And nearly 10 years later, the salt still hasn't washed away. So that's the story of Ronda Rousey's rise and fall. A dominant champion who couldn't handle adversity, a sore winner who became an even worse loser, and a legend who refuses to accept why fans moved on. What do you think? Was Ronda treated unfairly by the MMA community, or did she bring this on herself? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Band-Aid Battalion MMA for more stories of glory and defeat. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.